Bowl here on Fox, but it's not Packers and Steelers today. You got your Brewers and your Pirates. Milwaukee now 11 up on the Buccos, who were in first place just 3 weeks ago. The opening pitch brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds, and let's check out the starting lineup. The Pirates will bat first. They have lost 14 out of 17 games as they'll take their cuts against Marco Estrada, a fill-in for the Brewers today. Lineup brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. The exciting Andrew McCutchen leads it off. Matt Diaz and Garrett Jones, who's been hot of late. Neil Walker hitting cleanup. The Pittsburgh native Ryan Ludwig brought in at the trade deadline. Ryan Domit, Pedro Alvarez, Ronnie Cedeno, and Kevin Correa on the mound. Let's talk a little Marco Estrada. And you know, the starters for the Brewers have an ERA of about 3 the last 5 weeks, Mitch Williams. Marco Estrada has a lot to live up to. The sprint pitcher profile for Estrada.
Well, and it's simple. Marco Estrada is filling in due to the injury to Narveson. What he needs to do today, simple. Give his manager, Ron Renicky, as many innings as possible and concentrate on the hitters, not the base runners. What I mean by that, when there's guys on base, they kill this guy when he's on the mound. When there's no one on, he's given up 5 home runs and 315 plate appearances. When there's guys on base, he's given up 11 home runs and only 163 plate appearances. Get the hitter. Don't worry about the runners.
It's a very dynamic leadoff man here, Andrew McCutchen. Takes ball 1 inside. John Hirschbeck calls your balls and strikes today. Scott Berry at first. Laz Diaz, your umpire, at second. Wally Bell at third. See a lot of changeups from Estrada, you figure, today.
Well, anything to keep these hitters from Pittsburgh off balance. This is not the way he wanted to start. You do not want to fall behind Andrew McCutchen, because this guy, if you walk him, it could be a triple.
Brewers won the game here last night. It's inside. That one missing just a little in. Looking at Andrew McCutchen, whose dad was a minister, who always preached about the importance of staying positive in the face of obstacles, Mitch. And, boy, here's that sermon in full operation.
Absolutely. And this is one guy, as we see here, hits the ball hard to left field. That's a great job right there by Estrada of getting an out there when he was way behind in the count. And McCutchen's a guy that you can't take for granted just going to slap at the ball. He leads the team in home runs.
Yeah, no doubt. 16 home runs at the top of that order. Matt Diaz doesn't have any yet.
And that's shocking to me. I know Matt Diaz is a guy that is known for hitting left-handed pitchers, but for him to be at this point in the season and not have 1 home run, that's shocking.
Well, Mitch, we were talking about trying to stay positive in the face of adversity. And Clint Hurdle, the manager of these Pirates, has brought passion and energy and certainly volume to that Pittsburgh dugout. You can hear Clint's voice from Oshkosh.
Well, the one thing about Clint that I love about him, and we, in our meeting with him before the game, he's trying to change a culture in Pittsburgh. For 18 years, they've lost. And he wants to connect this team back to the city of Pittsburgh. And I think he's done a pretty good job of that. Up until the last 2 weeks, it was starting to get back to a baseball town there in Pittsburgh.
Clint may be loud, but he is unrelentingly positive.
And that works great with a young team. And I talked to him, as we see there, Estrada misses in again. The thing I talked to Clint about is when you have young kids, you can mold those minds. If you have a veteran team, they get jaded when they get 6 or 7 years into the league, because they look at the teams across from them and say, they've got more talent. We can't compete with that.
Previously to McCutchen, a 3-1 pitch was lined to left for an out. This 3-1 pitch, Diaz took a full rip at it. Doesn't get it. And here's what we're talking about. The Pirates were sitting pretty through July the 25th. And the bottom has simply dropped out, while the Brewers have won 14 out of 16.
And that's the problem. If you get cold and another team in your division gets hot, it can just be a free fall immediately.
Betancourt to fielder, and let's check out the rest of that Brewers defense. Again, Milwaukee right now at 68 and 51, having won 14 out of 16. Nyjer Morgan is a catalyst and a motor mouth out there in center field. We'll talk a lot about him today. Fielder's having a wonderful year at first. Estrada working with Jonathan Lucroy. And quickly, Mitch, just back to Clint Hurdle. He replaced a decidedly low-key guy in John Russell. Good manager, just very beige.
Well, I know John also, and John was exactly that. He's not a rah-rah guy. And Clint is one of those guys that if you're around him long enough, you start to emulate what your manager is. And that's what I think these kids have done. They've glommed onto the fact that Clint's positive, we're going to be positive.
Trying to stay that way, though they've lost 14 out of 17, and they are down in order here against Marco Estrada. Today, the starting lineup for the Brewers brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Corey Hart has been a revelation since going up to leadoff. Nigel Morgan, the former Pirate. Ryan Braun, the all-star left fielder. Prince Fielder at first base hitting cleanup. The resurgent Casey McGee at third base. Yuniesky Betancourt, followed by a recent acquisition, Jerry Hairston Jr., brought in from Washington. Lucroy and Estrada after that. And here are the numbers on the former San Francisco Giants prospect and San Diego Padres pitcher Kevin Correa.
And you look at these numbers, and 12 and 10, and that doesn't tell you everything because his splits are ridiculous. This guy is 10 and 2 on the road this year, which is best in all of baseball. So this guy, for me, he's facing a lineup today. He has got to make pitches. There's no question about that.
When Correa signed a 2-year contract this past winter to go to the Pirates, I don't think anyone really noticed it. Hart bangs one in left right away. The Brewers have scored in the first inning 7 of the first 9 games in the first pitch. Now Kevin Correa has been noticed here. Let's scout him out, courtesy of Sprint, our pitcher profile.
My scouting report on him is simple. Continue his road success. Keep the Brewers off balance with pitch selection and location. And do not put himself in a position to let Prince Fielder hurt him. It's that simple because Fielder is hot. And right now with McGee getting hot, he's going to have to throw Fielder pitches. Try and do it when there's nobody on base. You don't want to face Fielder with guys on base.
The former Pirate Nigel Morgan, that's not one of those plush dementals that he talks about from his alter ego Tony Plush. You got to move that base runner. Instead, he pops out on the first pitch.
Well, Nigel is definitely one of those guys that's a character in the game, and he's been on 3 different teams, and it's like he's had 3 different personalities in 3 different cities. But this one seems to be working here because talking to Ron Renicky before the game, the team that as a whole loves this guy being on this team.
He sets up a guy like Ryan Braun, and then, as you mentioned, Fielder, who's just having a knockout season in a free agent season for Prince Fielder.
Well, it's going to be, you're going to have 2 of the best first basemen on the planet that are free agents in the offseason with him and Pujols.
Infield, a double play depth, no score first inning. And the all-star outfielder, Ryan Braun. Actually, he has started 4 straight all-star games, Mitch. No other Brewers ever started more than 2 in a row. He started 4.
Well, there isn't a hole in this guy's game. He's made himself into an outstanding left fielder. Everybody knew he could hit. He's started at third base, ended up in left field, and he's made himself a doggone good left fielder. But that thing that he's holding in his hand right now, that's what makes him who he is.
To clarify, too, named as a starter in 4 straight all-star games. Didn't actually play. He was among the many this past July who opted out due to injury or otherwise.
Well, and Correa right now is in a situation he didn't want to be in. He's got Ryan Braun in a cripple count. Braun is going to keyhole him here, meaning he is going to look for a pitch in one zone, and if he gets it, he's not going to miss it.
He takes a close one. I guess what you're saying, just not what he was looking for, so he lets it go on by.
Absolutely. When you put a hitter like Braun in a cripple count at 2-0, 3-1, he is looking in one zone, and if that pitch is not in that zone, he's not swinging at it. And this is leading right up to what I said in my open about Correa. You don't want to put yourself in a position to where a fielder can hurt you. And being 3-0 on Braun, the fielder on deck, he's in a position to get hurt.
Yes, he is. Going to be 2 on, 1 out. Prince fielder coming up.
And if we were talking about before the break, I would say Prince fielder is not going to get a whole lot to hit right here, because Casey McGee struggled so badly before the break that they would walk Prince and simply not give him anything to hit. But since the break, McGee's gotten hot. He's hitting 289 since the break. He's driving in runs. He's hitting home runs. So now Correa has to give Prince something in the zone.
1 through 4 in this Brewers order, whether it's Ricky Weeks sitting up top or Corey Hart, there is all kinds of production. Swinging at the first one after a 4-pitch walk. And he fouls it straight back.
A lot of people don't like that. I love it, because being a former pitcher, if I throw 4 straight balls, I'm looking to throw a strike the next pitch. And Prince, the thing I love about him is he lives by that old theory, swing hard in case you hit it. I've seen him hit balls from the top of his helmet to the tip of his toes.
Right there to short, and the Pirates get a break. It's hit hard, but they turn 2. It's Cedeno taking it to the bag himself and making it no score at the end of 1. by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. And by AT&T. Rethink possible. Earlier this month, the Pirates unwittingly became the first team in Major League history to go from first place to 10 games out in less than 2 weeks' time. They're due for a break. Maybe they just got one. Mr. Williams, Prince Fielder hits into a double play.
Well, yeah. And we look at Prince coming up in that situation. I thought Correa was in trouble. You look at these pitches here. Gets a fastball middle, then another fastball middle. But the Pirates, knowing that Prince is a typical pull hitter in those situations, have shifted Cedeno up the middle because that's ordinarily a routine single up the middle, which would have scored a run. Very good job of defensing Fielder on that last play.
Neil Walker digs in to start the second inning, and as the Pirates try to escape all the talk about 18 straight losing seasons, Mitch, wouldn't you know it, their most popular player's uniform number, as you guessed it, it is 18. It's a walking billboard for what they're trying to escape.
Well, and this guy, they've got a couple of guys on this team that are worth watching playing. And Walker being one, McCutchen. I've stated before that Andrew McCutchen's a guy I would pay to watch play, and I'm getting the opportunity to see him for the first time in person now. And he's not a disappointment. This kid's electric on the field. You sitting in, that's fuel. That's rocket fuel he's drinking if you've ever seen him run.
That one scrapes the outside corner to Walker. Well, at 22 years old, McCutchen was asked to be the face of the franchise, and he's got some broad shoulders to carry that.
And he's done a great job of it. And when you're that young and you're asked to be that guy, to handle it the way he's handled it, I think he's done a tremendous job.
Walker skies this one down the line. And finding safe harbor in the crowd. They're expecting another sellout here in Milwaukee today.
And this being my first trip to this new stadium, I played in Old County Stadium, but I never, this is the first opportunity I've had to be here.
This is a mild upgrade?
It's just a mild upgrade. The brats are still the same, but the surroundings are definitely different.
I'm surprised they didn't ask you to participate in the sausage race.
No.
You would have looked real good in, I don't know, chorizo.
Yeah, I could do the chorizo. I'd come in last because I can't run a lick.
That one's up and outside, 1-2 to Walker.
And this is where Estrada, being ahead in the count, he's got an opportunity to get Neil Walker out on a ball. You do not want to get in the strike zone when you're ahead in the count. That's a good miss right there. You can see John Hirschbeck, and I've had my run-ins with John back when I was playing. He's a great guy, but you can see he's got a pretty tight strike zone today.
Normally he's fairly forgiving, right? But
he never was with me.
Well, yeah, but you weren't always real close to the plate either.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. John was kind of busting on you a little bit before the game. I guess you guys once had a little throwdown almost.
Well, it was all my fault. I was arguing that every pitch I threw was a strike, and I ended up apologizing, and he was a bigger man and didn't hold it against me. Tremendous umpire.
Behind the bag at short, there's Betancourt. And throws out Neil Walker. Went from 0-2 to 3-2, but then Walker grounds out.
And what we've seen so far, Estrada has fallen behind a couple of the hitters. And when you get put in what I call cripple counts, 2-0, 3-1, and you're getting cookies in the middle of the plate and you're popping up and grounding out, that right there is a sign of a team that's pressing, because they're getting themselves out. The pitcher's not getting them out. They're getting themselves out.
Now, Estrada has faced 4 hitters. He's been at a 3-ball count on all of them, but has retired them all. Swinging right away, Ludwig. Boy. This is your football season. Create your fantasy football team today at foxsports.com. Fox Fantasy Football is brand new and better than ever. Played today at foxsports.com/fantasy. The Steelers, by the way, will be playing the Eagles on Fox later this week. The Packers have the Cleveland Browns tonight, but there's no such thing as preseason fantasy football.
No. There's no such thing as preseason football in Philadelphia. Every game counts in Philly.
Ryan Domit takes strike one. Not too bad the Eagles haven't added anybody.
Well, they've got a pretty solid team there.
Another one, creasing that strike zone from Estrada, who again is just getting a kind of an emergency start today in for the ailing Chris Narveson.
And now he's got him set up. He's thrown him a fastball and a breaking ball. He can do whatever he wants. He's got 3 opportunities to get him to chase a ball. And that pitch right there is way too good a pitch in an 0-2 count.
To a guy that in the past has hit the Brewers pretty well. Ryan Doman has spent a lot of time on the DL this year. A lot of Pirates have been hurt.
When I first signed, I had a pitching coach that if we gave up an 0-2 base hit, he'd find us. And needless to say, 0-2, I'd throw it off the backstop to keep from having to give up money.
Doman can keep his money in his wallet. He gets Ryan Doman, and there is still no score on Fox. Gillette is a terrific 6-1 road trip, now settling in at home for a bit with a 4-game lead over St. Louis in the Central. This team has a long, rich history of mashing baseballs, from Bambi's Bombers to Harvey's Wallbangers to now whatever the wise guys will come up with to tie in Ron Renneke. But Mitch, this guy Casey McGee, fully capable of hitting him a long way. He's got only 8 home runs, though, this year. 3 of them were in one game.
Well, and that's the shock of it to a lot of people. This guy drove in 100 runs last year, over 100 runs. And he's got to be protection for one of the best hitters in the game in Prince Fielder. And since the All-Star break, he's done exactly that. So I think he's back on track, and he's not feeling the pressure so much as he was in the first half. We talked to Ron Renneke about it and about his slow start, and he said that they were intentionally walking Prince to get to him, and every time up he's got guys on base, and he felt like he was pressing, thinking he had to drive these runs in. He just wasn't letting himself work.
Slashed over to third, gobbled up by Alvarez. The time now for a DirecTV game break. The Angels and the Blue Jays had an early game today, and Jared Weaver on the mound. That sounds good if you're an Angels fan, but, well, the Blue Jays were not impressed. Edwin Encarnacion dropping that one up and out. And then a grand slam from Adam Lind. Weaver giving up 8 hits, 8 runs in 4 2/3. And the Angels fall 2.5 out in the AL West, get every MLB game and the most in HD with DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
And that game right there, Jared Weaver being considered in the Cy Young conversation, it'll be interesting to see if that's a game that takes him out of it.
Betancourt fouls one up and away. CC Sabathia lost yesterday too. Didn't get blitzed quite the way that Jared Weaver did.
But 2 nights ago, Verlander got his 17th win to lead all of Major League Baseball. And I think it's going to be hard for anyone to take that award away from Verlander the way he's going right now.
Neither starter in this game will be considered for a Cy Young this year. But the thing about Kevin Correa on the mound here for the Pirates, and you touched on it earlier, Mitch, for some bizarre reason, he is Justin Verlander on the road. It's just he's been terrible at home.
I can't explain those splits. I mean, the game is the same no matter where you're playing it. I mean, the mound is 60 feet 6 inches. But to be 10-2 on the road and 2-8 at home, he's already reached his career high in wins at 12. So anything beyond this, he's establishing career highs. Last year was a rough year on him with his brother passing away. He won 12 games for the Padres back in 2009. Got off to a tremendous start this year, but it's all kind of leveled out. And I think it all has to do with adjustments.
Betancourt gets into one. That's not Fielder. That's not McGee. That's Betancourt to make it 1-0.
And that right there is one of the biggest problems he's given up. That's his 21st home run he's allowed this year. 3 of the Pirates starting pitchers have allowed 20 home runs, and now Correa has allowed his 21st.
How much money would that have been out of your pocket because that was on an 0-2 count?
See, there's no excuse for that. You see Domet set up on the outer third of the plate. As a pitcher, you either miss away or way away. You do not miss in the middle of the plate. An 0-2 home run, if I'm the pitching coach, I'm fine. You just simply can't do that. You have 4 opportunities to get him to swing at a ball.
First time he has ever homered on an 0-2 count. Ever. Yuniesky Betancourt, we are told.
Well, and that's the way it should be.
He's a free swinger of the highest order. I mean, that we know. So, and this is not to dogpile Kevin Correa, but knowing he's going to swing at anything.
That's the thing. And that's any hitter, when they're putting an 0-2 count, they're defensive.
Cedeno gets Hairston for the out. On the 275th at bat for Betancourt in his big league career that ended with a count of 0-2. This is the first time he actually takes one out.
Look at Domet where he's set. Now look at where this ball is. That ball is supposed to be away, and he misses middle in with it. He missed by 12 inches. And when you do that to a big league hitter, that's what happens.
We were talking to Clint Hurdle before the game, Mitch, about margin of error. And the Pirates, because of their payroll, because of their personnel, they just don't have it. They can't make mistakes like that.
No, they can't. And the attention to detail in the little things, and that would be what I would consider a little thing. What do you do with an 0-2 pitch? What you do with a 3-1 pitch? These are little things that if you're doing them well, no one notices. But if you're doing them poorly, they stand out in the way the ball flies out of the ballpark.
Well, Correa, who had navigated through the thicket of Corey Hart and Nyjer Morgan, Braun, Fielder, McGee. He sliced his way through that, but then he got crushed by Yuniesky Betancourt. Jonathan Lucroy spins one towards right field. Diaz has got it. Yuniesky Betancourt got one too. It's 1-0, and we're coming back to Milwaukee after a word from your local Fox station. Gillette Fusion and Pro Glide. Josh Lewin along with Mitch Williams. Happy to be with you from Milwaukee today. The Pirates have somehow lost 34 of their last 37 games in this fine city of Milwaukee.
And as I said in our open, when you're talking about losing 34-37, it's no longer a physical thing. It's a mental thing. And you've got to get over that hump.
Yes, he did.
Marco Estrada jumps ahead of Pedro Alvarez, who's having a pretty tough season.
And Pedro's finding out that the game ain't all that easy. He came up last year. He put up decent numbers. In 95 games, he hit .256 with 21 doubles, 16 homers, and 64 RBIs. This year, he was actually sent back down to AAA, played in only 53 games. He's hitting .203 with 8 doubles, 3 homers, and 15 RBIs. And like Clint Hurdle said before the game, this game will humble you.
Humbled right there. Marco Estrada strikes him out. Some Fox sounds of the game. John Hirschbeck talking before the game with the grounds crew about what could be a sunnier day here. Let's listen in.
Looks like I can open up.
Good.
I'll do it at the end of an inning. As soon as our guys get ready, leave at the end of the first, end of the second, or end of the third. And if rain comes in and I close it, we're done.
Thanks, Adam. Hi, Uni. How are you, buddy? Good. How about you? Good.
Uni got better about 2 pitches after that. He homered, and that's why it's 1-0. And now Ronnie Cedeno at the plate, down 0-1. 10 straight strikes, by the way, thrown by Estrada.
And that's the one thing I was just fixing to comment on, Josh. He is starting to work ahead in the count. He was 0-2 to Alvarez. Now he's 0-2 to Cedeno. And let's see where he goes with his 0-2 pitch. The last one to Alvarez, he elevated his fastball, got Alvarez to chase. That is what you want to do as a pitcher. Get him to chase. They're the ones in the hole.
0-2 base hit. It's like you throw it out there and everybody's going to just go ahead and do it.
I'm telling you. We look at this last pitch. He set up out here, and look at this pitch right here. And Cedeno's able to go down and get it. You just don't want to be in the strike zone when you're ahead 0-2. There's no reason for it.
And Kevin Correa found that out the hard way. He's the one that gave up the 0-2 home run to Betancourt.
And this is the situation that I stated before the game. One of the keys to the game was for Estrada to keep runners off base because he gets hammered when there's runners on base.
Knowing that Correa is looking to bunt, you see McGee playing all the way in on the grass.
The second baseman's not able to cheat over towards second in this situation because he's got to cover first base bag.
The 14th consecutive strike fired in there by Estrada is fielded. And the sac bunt pushes the runner on down to second.
Good job of Correa getting the bunt down. In this situation, there's so many guys that can't bunt that it's shocking to me. I've always said that I could walk out there today and get a bunt down because all you're doing is catching the ball with the bat. And there's a lot of guys that can't do it at the big league level. And I don't think there's any excuse for that.
From a pitcher, certainly, if you're, let's say, a guy that's forecast to hit 25 home runs a year, though, Mitch, is that guy supposed to be in a game situation, say, in Double-A, working on that?
I think you work on all facets of the game. I don't care what you're projected to be. If you're projected to be a 25 to 40 home run guy, I think you work on all facets of the game if you want to be a complete player.
Speaking of complete players, here's Andrew McCutchen. And the off-speed stuff we mentioned is probably going to be the calling card for Estrada today.
And that right there in that situation, you got a runner on second. McCutchen's looking for first pitch fastball. Estrada threw him a really good changeup down in the zone. McCutchen got out in front of it and swung through it.
It's inside.
Ooh, looking like it could have been a 16th consecutive strike, but John Hirschbeck said no. Matt Diaz on deck.
Well, and I can tell you right now why the splits are so big on Estrada with runners on and runners not on. The slide step. I can't stand it. I think you sacrifice stuff. I've always believed that if you get the hitter, unless that guy can steal second, third, and home, you worry about getting a hitter.
This is Ronnie Cedeno on base here. It's not Omar Moreno, right?
Yeah, you don't change your delivery. You want your best stuff going to the hitter. And you can't do that if you don't finish your delivery.
Got him! Rung him up on the outside corner. Estrada. And a spot start is off quickly here. Brewers 1, Pirates nothing on Fox. Two Harleys and bratwurst, and yes, the malt beverage as well. It's the only big league team with barley in its logo, Mitch Williams, the Milwaukee Brewers.
And they know how to tailgate here in Milwaukee.
Yes, they do. 1-0 Milwaukee today. And the pitcher Marco Estrada opens up this bottom of the third inning. The bottom has dropped out on these Pittsburgh Pirates, as we've talked about. You know, they lost 12 of 13 at one point last August, too, but they started that stretch, Mitch, already 22 games out, so nobody noticed. Estrada, the pitcher, pegs it to left. Off the glove of Ludwig. And Marco Estrada is now a 300 hitter. He's 3 for 10.
And you look at this, and you see Ryan Doumit and where he's setting up, asking for this ball, and you look at how far Correa is missing with his pitches on location, and it's shocking. It's easy to tell why the pitching numbers have been what they've been over the last 2.5, 3 weeks. When you're missing that far with your location, and especially with a pitcher up, he got away with the first pitch. Doumit wanted it away through a fastball right down the middle. Second pitch, he overemphasized get the ball away, and again right down the middle.
Right away, Hart slashing it over to short. Estrada's got to get on back to second base. Well, you get that number 9 guy on, and especially against this Milwaukee team, you really run a risk of getting in trouble because, as we talked about, The upper third, actually upper quadrant of that batting order is just so explosive. 1 through 4 hitters for the Brewers.
And it's shocking right there because you got a pitcher running at second base. I thought Neil Walker with Corey Hart up would be cheating more towards second. They should have been able to get Estrada on that play because he broke to third. But Neil Walker couldn't get to the bag.
Nope, that's a ball.
You got the first baseman playing back right here. Would not surprise me at all to see Nigel Morgan take a bunt with him down that first baseline.
And as Garrett Jones playing first, we should mention that Derek Lee is headed to the DL. That's another dose of bad news for the Pirates. Turns out that hand bruise, that's actually a broken bone in his wrist.
Yeah, they did the original x-ray of it and it came up negative, and then yesterday did another scan and it actually is fractured. So their big acquisition at the trade deadline, Derek Lee, is now DL'd.
There's a strike to Morgan, and here's what happened to Derek Lee against his former team, the Cubs.
Yeah, and you look at that. If he had just kept his hands up, that would have been a fastball off his thigh. But he dropped his left hand and ended up catching him on the wrist.
Off-speed strike to Nigel Morgan, the former Pirate.
Pitch looked to be a little bit up. I think that's what Nigel's asking right now is, was that pitch not up?
Well, Nigel Morgan with a .320 batting average, and he didn't have enough plate appearances to qualify for the league lead, Mitch, but if he did, he'd be in the top 3.
Yeah, and hearing Ron Renicky talk about him and what he's been to this club since he's come over here, and he says he has to call him into the principal's office every now and then and have a talk with him, and that's understandable, but he's obviously been a spark plug since coming over here, and I think the biggest thing that you worry about is he going to fit in the clubhouse, and he's obviously done that because Renicky said all the guys love him.
Not loving the at-bat, though. Nigel Morgan is out. Correa rallies to get him.
Now that right there, that's an 0-2 pitch. He threw it in a 2-2 count, but that's an 0-2 pitch. That's what you can do. If we were to record every out made over the course of the season, I promise you 96% of the outs made would be recorded on balls. You get ahead with strikes, you get outs with balls.
You're married to the number 96, are you?
No.
Okay.
But it's just off the top of my head, I'm saying 96%.
Well, you wore 99. I'm just wondering if you could ease it up a little. First one in for a strike to Ryan Braun. And if you get Braun here, you don't have to worry about Prince Fielder coming up with men on base, right? He would lead off next inning.
Right, but this is a situation, I mean, he's between a rock and a hard place right now. You're facing one of the best hitters in all of baseball right now with a base open. You got to pitch him tough, but if you pitch him tough and walk him, now you got to face Fielder. Great job by Domet right there.
Yep, shifting all the way to his right.
And that's one of the plays that I think gets overlooked a lot in the game. You watch how Domet set up. He gave it away to everyone basically by how he set up that it was a breaking ball coming, because he set up expecting the ball in the dirt.
Check of Estrada. And Correa fires a fastball behind Braun.
I'll tell you what, that 91-mile-an-hour fastball looked like about 99 right there. Yeah, that ball beat him right there. You can see Braun's late on that pitch. I'm guessing Braun was sitting on something other than fastball in that count.
76 runs batted in for Braun at his 5th best in the National League. Got a chance to score the pitcher Estrada from second here. Another block by Doman.
Another off-speed pitch. Doman expecting the ball in the dirt where it should be when he's ahead in the count like this. And the thing Correa's got to understand now, just because it's 2-2, it does not mean you give in here. If he can make the same slider right here to Braun that he made to Nyjer Morgan, I think he can get him out right here. As you see there, 31 RBIs with 2 strikes. 3rd in Major League Baseball. That means that Ryan Braun does not, when he gets 2 strikes, he understands that you can shorten up and understand that a doink into right field, those RBIs count too.
Fastball is pretty consistently sitting at 91 here for Correa, and Fielder hoping to get a chance to bat with a couple on.
And I would be willing to bet that Braun is going to see anything other than the fastball on this next pitch. He thought he could sneak a 2-2 fastball by Braun right there, but I wouldn't go back to a fastball in this situation.
Well, it's been a long inning considering only 4 men have batted. A lot of step-offs, a lot of long look-ins. Estrada's been at second base following that double, his first career extra base hit.
Let's see where Doman's going to set up on this pitch. They're going away.
Chopped behind the bag at second. Walker got him. Fielder left on deck. It stays 1-0, and you can tailgate on a cloudy day in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Back in a moment on Fox. Sponsored by Pepsi Max. 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste. By Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Sprint. All together now.
Just let you know how old I am when all the guys I played against are making statues out of now as you look at Robin Yount's statue.
And we'll tell you the baseball greats are coming together for the Pepsi Max Field of Dreams promotion, where you and your friends could win a chance to play ball with Major League Baseball legends. Visit Pepsi Max Field of Dreams online to enter today. Remember, if you build it, they will come. Josh Lewin along with Mitch Williams. They ever did a statue of Mitch Williams anywhere? Not back in Pennsylvania? Nowhere?
No. The Pigeons, I think, would wear it out if they did.
Well, in Pittsburgh, and then there's a lot of statues of note in that town, too. Heck, when you land at the airport, there's Franco Harris. But the Pirates themselves, and you've talked about this one. We met with Clint Hurdle before the game, and he's all about restoring the glory of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's got a sense of humor. He knows those T-shirts that talk about Pittsburgh, home of champions, and the Pirates.
Right.
He acknowledges that's funny. He just wants those T-shirts to go away.
Right. He wants to change it. Like I said, he wants to change the culture. He does not want the Pirates' name to be synonymous with losing anymore. And I understand that. And Clint is a guy, as I said, he goes way beyond the glass is half full. And when you have a guy like that, it's hard for it not to rub off on you.
The standing joke is that Clint gives Tony Robbins pep talks. Tough to be upbeat when you've lost 14-17, but the Pirates are doing the best they can to just kind of keep on trucking here.
Well, as I said, it starts and ends with pitching. If you're not pitching well, it's tough to win. And it's any streak in baseball, your streak is only as good as the next day's pitcher. And if you can run guys out there, and pitching's contagious, you get one guy throwing well, it kind of has a trickle-down effect. The next guy wants to go out there and throw well, and so on and so forth. And when one guy goes out and gets bombed, it's tough for the next guy to look at that and go out there and go, wow, these guys are swinging the bat well, and go out there and not have that feeling that how are they not going to pound me the next night.
Well, you know, the Pirates, their slogan this year is all off of that letter P that they wear on their helmet there. Pride and passion, both of which they have. But now you're right. They also need pitching and power, two other things that start with P.
As we look at Matt Diaz, and speaking of power, and Matty's been a guy that, for him to have no home runs at this point in the season, for me, is unexplainable.
On 3-2. Down he goes. All right, so if we're talking about restoring the luster to this once proud franchise, and there are so many names, so many great Pirates that you can flash back to, from Bill Mazeroski to, well, of course, Roberto. It all starts and stops with number 21. And the next generation knows enough about Willie Stargell. But what's really cool about Pirates games now, Mitch, and Clint Hurdle was talking about this, is you're seeing Neil Walker jerseys. You're seeing Andrew McCutchen jerseys.
As well there should be. These kids are young, exciting players, and they're a part of a foundation that if they can get some solid pitching, they can compete, because athletically they have, I think, the athletes in place. They need the pitchers.
Garrett Jones rolls one to first. In fairness, another word that starts with P is payroll. And it's tough to compete when you're not spending. But there are so many positives. Another P word for you. 14 sellouts at PNC Park this year. And there is a palpable buzz there now. There really is. Although, obviously, that last homestand they had just wiped them out. They went 0-7 against two bad teams.
Yeah, and you look at that, and the one thing you always want to do, as bad as they were on the road last year, they won 17 games all year last year on the road.
That's tough to do.
But they're under 500 at home right now. And you want to defend your house. You cannot play below 500 baseball at home and expect to do anything or have an opportunity to go to the postseason.
Neil Walker, who grew up going to Pirates games at the old place. And yeah, they're coming off the worst homestand in their 125-year history, Mitch. An 0-7 stay at PNC Park against the Padres and the Cubs. Two teams that were a combined 40 games under 500 when the week began. And that is how you free fall from first place to 10 games out in less than 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, and now they're 11. And you've got to throw the brakes on it and treat every day as a new day. If you come in and you're thinking about yesterday or the last 2 weeks, you're already beat. You have got to come in today and think about today only.
High fly ball into the crowd. Nice
and as I watch this, Josh, you're looking at good hitters. Neil Walker. These guys are, in my mind, they're getting themselves out. Estrada is putting pitches in spots that these guys should be hammering, and they're pulling off them. They're not staying on the ball.
Are they squeezing that bat too tight? Is it just?
I think it is. I think it's just a bunch of guys pressing, wanting to do more. They're not relaxed.
Well, and Clint Hurdle acknowledges, and it's a tough thing to acknowledge when you're the manager, but water finds its own level. If the water is really high, it's eventually going to dip, and it certainly has dipped on the banks of those three rivers back in Pennsylvania to where maybe it should have been all along.
And, you know, he said something in that meeting today that, I mean, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, and I had no idea that this is what it meant, but mediocre is Latin for half.
Right.
And ochre is Latin for stone hill. So mediocre means you're halfway up a stone hill.
That is why we love Clint Hurdle. By the way.
I mean, Clint's the only guy that's going to possibly pull that out. I had no idea what mediocre meant other than that you're not very good.
That ball slashed foul. Clint also dropped some Nietzsche on us, too, while we were in there.
Yeah.
I mean, not a lot of big league managers are just pulling Nietzsche out on you.
Yeah, my high school did not talk a lot about Nietzsche. I didn't go on to college. And I work with guys like Matt Vasgersian who use huge words.
Well, Vasgersian is a huge word.
Oh, and I tell him all the time that I don't know what that meant. I didn't bring my Tyrannosaurus out on the set with me.
The 3-2 to Walker. And down he goes. You're a simple but lovable partner. You really are. It's 1-0 Milwaukee on Fox. Fielders coming up. Today 1-0. Well, they had kind of a modified shift on for Fielder, got him to hit into a double play to end the first inning. They got a big time shift on for Prince right now. The second baseman Walker essentially playing a rover position out there in shallow right.
Yeah, and this shift, you never really saw it up until the last few years for guys like Prince and Ryan Howard. And it takes a lot of hits away. It really does. I mean, right now we got the third base umpire and two other guys to the left of second base.
Kevin Correa deals, and sure enough, to that left side, it's going to get off the glove of Alvarez. The lonely end over there. And Fielder is on with that beast mode thing that the Brewers are now doing once he got to first.
And that right there, to me, if you're going to play a shift and you're the pitcher, you want him to roll over on something. That means you want the ball down and away, not up and out over the plate where he can drive the ball to left field, or down and in to where he rolls over on it. But you do not pitch the guy opposite of what you're trying to get him to do. And right there, Correa got the ball up and out over the plate where he can drive the ball to left field rather than roll over on it.
It is scored a base hit off the glove of Alvarez, and here's Casey McGee. And Mitch, I'm curious about your review of the new thing that's catching on here in Milwaukee. This is called going beast mode. It's from Monsters, Inc., says Prince Fielder. He got it from his kids who got it from that movie.
Well, I have no problem with that. I'm just glad they got away from all the untucking of the jerseys and all that stuff.
You didn't like the untuck?
No, I think that's why they build you a clubhouse.
McGee bouncing one foul. So it's not the act of untucking, it's the geography. It's where you untuck.
I mean, I think there's a time and place for everything, and I like the things they did in Texas last year with the antlers and all that. I love that. I think that's just a team unity thing. But I was not a big fan of the untucking of the jerseys out on the field and all that. I'm kind of old school, I guess you'd say.
So I'm guessing when they did the thing a few years ago where they all went down like bowling pins, you were kind of out on that too?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the next time I pitch, there'd have been a bunch of them going down like bowling pins.
McGee takes a strike. All right, so Mitch Williams would have had an issue.
Yeah, I love Prince. I love the way he plays it. Oh, wow. I love the way he plays the game. He plays the game hard. He started that slide maybe a little late. And I'm not sure who that second baseman, Mark Loretta, I'm told, but that is about 250 pounds of ouch coming at you. I joke with Prince all the time about him being a vegetarian. The first time I interviewed him, I said, "Are they delivering cauliflower to your house in 18-wheelers or what?"
Well, maybe he just like eats redwood trees or something.
I think he's eating cauliflower and carrots stuffed with meat. I don't think you can claim to be a vegetarian if you're eating stuffed vegetables. Because he is a strong human.
McGee fouls it, then hangs around. Betancourt on deck. Betancourt has the home run today, not the vegetarian, not Ryan Braun. Betancourt hitting his on an 0-2 count.
And this right here, Correa has got to look to make a pitch to get McGee to hit the ball on the ground. So he's either got to run a two-seamer in on him or get a slider down and away, something to get him to roll over on the ball, keep the ball down in the zone. Let's see where Domit sets up. Away. Good job of pitching right there.
He got him. Rendering McGee 0 for 2.
And as I said, I can guarantee you that ain't a strike. You don't get outs with strikes.
According to you, only 4% of the time, right?
Absolutely.
Betancourt last time on 0-2 got a strike and took it out.
Yeah, that's what happens a lot of times with strikes. When you're 0-2 on someone, I always viewed it 0-2. That meant I had 4 chances to get that guy to swing at a bad pitch.
Well, and again, not to belabor it, but Betancourt, who just loves to swing. I mean, it's like a Vladimir Guerrero style, I want to swing at everything mentality. You don't have to be middle of the plate, though that one is for strike one.
And I view that problem, it stems directly from the pitch count. And hitter or pitchers worrying about, oh, if I waste a pitch, that's going against my pitch count. I'm not going to go deep into the game. I was always taught, get the out. I don't care if it takes 25 pitches, get the out.
Betancourt does not take the bait this time. In fact, he's looked at the first two.
At some point, I mean, all you got, the pitch has to start in the zone at some point. And that slider there, the last pitch was never on the plate at all, so it's tough to get a hitter to swing at one of those.
Betancourt fires away again, driving it to left center. What a play by McCutchen to rob him in the alley. And fielder hightails it back.
I'm telling you right now, anybody that hasn't had the opportunity to see this kid play, look at the ground this guy covers. Okay, here's the defense. He is set up directly behind second base. You were talking about a 40-yard sprint, wide open, and at the end of it, you got to catch that ball. That's the kind of talent that Andrew McCutchen possesses. He has the ability to outrun the baseball.
It closes like a free safety right there.
And for all you kids at home, the thing I want you, here's Prince. He thinks it's going to get in there. Now, once he goes by, he's got to retag second and come back. But the thing that if any kids at home watching that play Andrew McCutchen just made, you watch, he ran as hard as he could to the point of the ball and then put his glove up. That's why he can catch that ball. If he puts his glove up too early, he can't close on it because it slows him down.
One strike to count to Hairston. Boy, Betancourt has really gotten into a couple in this game off Correa.
This is McCutchen. Now, all you kids at home watch this. He's running wide open and doesn't reach until the very last second. Because as soon as you reach, that takes away foot speed from you. So you run as hard as you can and then put your glove up. That's why he's the best center fielder in baseball.
In on the hands and rolled to second base.
That's in his kitchen, going through his cabinets.
McCutchen, a fantastic play to help keep it 1-0. baseball dreams come true across the USA at ChevyBaseball.com. A
right
1-0 lead for Milwaukee.
Yeah, Ron Renick's got to be just ecstatic with what he has gotten out of Estrada so far. 4 innings, 1 hit. He's allowed 1 base runner.
Well, he's achieved as many hits as he's allowed. He's got a double in this one. And if they get 5 innings out of him, right, Mitch, that's a good day.
Well, he's at 53 pitches right now. And if they could get this inning and 1 or 2 more out of him, Renick, I think he would be ecstatic about that.
Opens with Ryan Ludwig. The top of the 5th underway. And the whole reason that Estrada gets a start, his first since May the 4th, is that Chris Narveson is out having sliced open his thumb with a pair of scissors.
And we found out this morning it wasn't even the sharp portion of the scissors. It was the screw in the middle of the scissors. That's why pitchers should not be allowed to use sharp instruments.
The 2-0 to Ludwig. Now 2-1. Well, Narveson unofficially, Mitch, the 3rd Brewer in the last dozen years who has missed time inadvertently slicing himself open. Matt Wise lost a battle with salad tongs a few years back.
I wouldn't even have admitted that.
Jose Valentin cut his hand trying to open up a pineapple.
I wouldn't have admitted that either. I'd have come up with some kind of story.
It was a bunch of guys in a dark alley and they jumped me.
They jumped me. There were 7 of them. There wasn't much I could do. I don't know why they only cut my thumb.
Well, that's to say nothing of Steve Sparks tearing a rotator cuff trying to rip that phone book in half back in the 90s. It wouldn't be Brewers baseball if there weren't key players getting hurt. You go back the last 30 years or so. You wonder.
We lost a center fielder in Texas, O.W. McDowell, at the opening day luncheon.
Ludwig sends that one foul. What was that? Trying to butter a roll or something?
Butter a roll with a butter knife. He cut himself.
Well, for the Brewers, to me, it started with Raleigh Fingers getting hurt just before the '82 World Series, and ever since, just one by one, players just fall by the wayside here. Larry Heisel, Pete Vukovich, Teddy Higuera, Darrell Hamilton, Dale Swaim. Dave Nilsson gets bitten by a mosquito and gets Ross River fever. Ludwig down on strikes.
I've never even heard of the Ross River.
No, I know you've heard of Dave Nilsson.
Estrada
though.
right here, and we'll watch it. Ludwig, that right there, for people at home, that's elevating the fastball in the middle of the plate. I think it's a lost art. If you elevate your fastball, it's got to be in the middle. It has to be middle of the plate because hitters can see away, they can see in. But if you elevate in the middle, they got to honor it and go after it. And you don't have to throw 98, 99 to elevate your fastball at the letters and have it be effective. I mean, that pitch was 91 miles an hour, but they cannot catch up to it.
Ryan Doma takes a look. That one's off speed. All right, seeing that you're old school, would you do that haircut that Estrada's got working?
Look, I had the mullet. There's a lot that I can't make fun of anybody's hair.
It's an adequate point. High drive, right field. Towards the track, and Niger Morgan has the range and has the baseball. The NFL is back, and Fox's preseason coverage continues Thursday. The revamped Eagles take on the Steelers. Then on Friday, the Falcons head to Jacksonville. They'll take on the Jaguars. Coverage of both those games beginning at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific in high def. Only on Fox. A trip to the Super Bowl for the Pittsburgh Steelers not too long ago. Of course, the Penguins have been in a Stanley Cup situation fairly recently. And then there are the Pirates, who are trying to get to a 500 record for the first time in 18 seasons.
And that's another thing we talked with Clint Hurdle about. And 500 is nothing to aspire to. 500 is exactly what he said, mediocre. You want to put together an organization that wins on a consistent basis.
Estrada, 5 innings. That's what they wanted from him. No runs, 1 hit, leading by 1. By Gillette Fusion Pro Glide turns shaving into gliding and skeptics into believers. Are you believing Marco Estrada can do this? Mitch Williams, so far so good. 5 innings, 1 hit, no runs. Tune in to the MLB Network for the 2011 World Series Senior Baseball Championship game, by the way, at 2 Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. The thing about Marco Estrada is it appears he's going to be done after these 5 innings.
And that shocks me. It really does. He's only at 64 pitches.
Lucroy, base hit right away, bottom 5. Randy Wolf had a bat on deck. And now with Saito getting up in the bullpen. Now that it's a... Well, let's see. They're going to put Craig Counsell in there instead of Randy Wolf.
No, they're pulled. This is, I think it's Greinke coming up.
Oh, it's going to be Greinke. You're right.
Greinke's coming up because he is an athlete, people. Believe me.
Greinke wanted to be a shortstop, not a pitcher, coming out of high school, and really believes that had the Royals let him be a shortstop, he could have really done something.
And I know exactly how he felt. I did not want to pitch coming out of high school. I wanted to play first base.
Greinke, the winning pitcher last night, and now he will be a pinch hitter in the 5th inning for Estrada. And it's a beauty of a bunt. Advancing Lucroy down to second base, so he's got a win and a sac bunt and a smile now.
And that's a curious move for me right there. I know Randy Wolf is a good hitter, but once Lucroy got on base, Roenicke decided to pull Wolf back.
You know, did you notice he batted in the jersey they're going to be wearing tomorrow, I guess?
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Technically, that bunt was out of uniform. I don't know if the Pirates will look for a forfeit now because of that. But
I'll tell you what, if I'm the Pirates, I'm looking for any reason to get a win.
Here's Corey Hart with 1 out, and he'll take a strike. Tomorrow is the salute to Germany. It's the German Fest Day tomorrow, so there'll be the beer brewers tomorrow. But there's a preview from Zach Greinke today.
And that kind of cracks me. I bet Greinke didn't even know he had that on.
Well, he didn't know he was getting in to the game, you know. I mean, he sees a jersey in the locker and just throws it on. Hart with a rip and a miss.
Okay, and now Correa is back in an 0-2 count with a guy in scoring position. Corey Hart is not typically a leadoff hitter. Corey Hart is an RBI man. When you have an RBI man at the plate, they want to swing the bat. Expand the zone. If you're Kevin Correa right now, do not throw him a strike.
You've been preaching that one all day, but the only run of this game came when a pitch on 0-2 was grooved and it was hit out by Betancourt. And
to Clint Hurdle's point, I mean, it has been all pitching the reason they've struggled. When your ERA goes from mid-3s to mid-6s in a 3-week period, that explains all the losses.
One thing Correa has done today, he's kind of buckled down with runners on. The Brewers are 0 for 8 with runners on base today. Base is empty. They are 5 for 8.
And the pitch I would use right here, if I'm Domet behind the plate, I'm going to elevate my fastball in the middle of the plate, and the target here would be Domet's mask. Right down the middle, high fastball. Hart will not be able to lay off.
Did he get a piece?
Yeah, he fouled that one off. Good pitch there, though. Good breaking ball.
All right, so now that you've established that, do you want what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, you've shown him you tried to get him out twice with breaking balls. Now elevate. I think it truly is a lost art of elevating your fastball. And like I said, it doesn't have to be 98, 99 to get guys to swing through it. A high fastball is very hard to barrel up if it's up out of the zone.
Well, today is a study in guys who don't have that 97, 98 power fastball. Estrada, certainly, we're looking at more like a 91, 92 kind of guy.
And same thing with Correa. But you look at Corey Hart's hands.
Boy, in on those hands, and he just squibs it up in the air. Out number 2.
And see, I studied hitting my entire career. I spent the first 6 innings of every game watching hitting on TV in the video room. I couldn't see anything from the bullpen. I couldn't learn anything about hitters from the bullpen. So I spent my time in the video room watching hitters. And a hitter will tell you everything you need to know. If they stand on the plate, it's because they can't hit the ball away. If they stand off the plate, it's because they can't hit the ball in. If their hands are high, they're low ball hitters. If their hands are low, they're high ball hitters.
So basically just looking for an edge.
Exactly. I was a fastball pitcher. I didn't have a big arsenal. But every hitter's a fastball hitter, but they can't cover every zone. So I would learn every hitter's nitro zone and stay out of it.
And you said you weren't smart.
Oh, I just tricked him into thinking I wasn't.
Getting past Walker on into right field. And holding Lucroy, a pellet of a throw from right field. Diaz unleashed one.
Very good decision not sending Lucroy right there. Because that throw was up the line and he still would have been out.
Nyjer Morgan gets credit for a base hit, his first of the game. Ryan Braun will bat with a couple men on. And again, the Brewers, that was their first hit with a man on base all day. It didn't score a run, though.
You see right there, that's a good decision not to send Lucroy, because he would have been out by a while.
Well, you got a guy coming up that has 76 runs batted in. You just kind of pass the baton here and let Ryan Braun take his shot.
And he's got 2 outs. He essentially has a base open. So he's got 2 hitters to try and make real quality pitches. He's Braun and Fielder. He's got to pick his poison and decide which one he wants to go after.
Morgan bluffing off at first, kind of shuffled his feet, did not go. The pitch is ball 1.
Well, I can tell you this. If I'm the manager, Ron Renicky, I am putting a hold on Morgan. You got your 2 best home run RBI guys coming up the next 2. You got Braun at the plate and Fielder on deck. There's no reason to risk getting thrown out in this situation.
Back into the crowd, 1 ball, 1 strike. The Brewers out hitting the Pirates 6-1, but leading just 1-0. The Brewers trying to bury the Pirates to a 12 games out in your newspaper tomorrow morning.
And as we said in the open, this is a huge series for the Pirates. I mean, they're either going to climb back in this ring in this series by winning a game or 2. They've got to win 2. If they don't win 2, then, I mean, they're just putting themselves so far out of reach that it's going to be almost impossible to come back from.
Now one missing in, and just to reset, Mitch, this is a Pirates team that has only managed 3 wins in this city in their last 37 tries. And if it wasn't for Ryan Domet hitting a couple of late inning home runs off a future Hall of Famer Trevor Hoffman, they wouldn't be 3-34. They'd probably be 1-36.
Yeah, and as I stated earlier, that it's a mental thing now. It's them coming out here going, how are we going to lose today? Instead of how are we going to win?
Well, this is a pivotal inning, obviously. You got Braun up now. You got Fielder on deck. It's a 3-1 count to a guy who is top 5 in the league in runs batted in. And the guy on deck is number 2.
And if I'm Correa, I'm looking at where home plate umpire John Hirschbeck is setting up. And you're not going to get a call on the inner third of the plate. Anything off the plate in is going to be called a ball. So I'm looking to go away right here to where he doesn't have complete view of the pitch.
Morgan's going on 3-1, and it's fouled. He'll be going again now that it's 3-2. Trying to stay positive in the face of some serious adversity here. The Pirates have overachieved for so much of this season. Now a cold splash of reality the last 3 weeks. They're trying to hang in it. And in this game, trying to hang in it. 1-0 for now.
Well, he's got himself in a full count with fielders standing on deck. And we're going to see if I can see what their signs are here. It looks like they're going in, which confuses me.
Upstairs, and Braun is down on strikes.
As I said, dead ball up. I mean, it looks attractive to a hitter, but if you look, that ball's in the middle. Middle up, they cannot get to it.
A Chevrolet, proud to support youth baseball across the country. And by Burger King and the all-new BK Burger and Chicken Minis. Marco Estrada was fantastic. Stepping in for Chris Narveson today, 5 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball. And now Takashi Saito takes over. Former Dodger, former Red Sox, former Brave. And opens up with Ronnie Cedeno here in the top of the 6th.
Saito hadn't thrown much this year, but thrown fairly well. 2-1 with a 2.70 ERA, so he's getting the job done. And this is what Roenicke wanted. He wanted Estrada to get the ball into the hands of the strength of this team, which is the bullpen, with a lead. That's what Estrada did. He did a great job for him.
Spooned out towards center field, and Nyjer Morgan backpedaling. He's got it. Marco Estrada came out when Zach Greinke pinch hit. And remember, we're showing this here on the left, the jersey that is going to be worn tomorrow for German Fest. Beer brewers, not brewers. And Greinke was 1 day early with that. If you're wondering, if you want to go to the rule book, Rule 1.11. Subsection A, all players on a team shall wear uniforms identical in color, trim, and style. I think that's identical, right? Even though it says something in German instead of in English.
Yeah,
I mean,
it doesn't say anything about what it said as far as wording. Trim and style.
Now he's hiding the evidence, by the way.
And it was identical in trim and style, so I think they're safe there.
Correa pounds one foul. And if you're John Hirschbeck, well, let's be fair. If you're the umpire, you're not inspecting the front. I mean, you're not Lieutenant Frank Drebin from the files of Naked Gun and patting down every player and checking out the front of their uniform.
I can promise you I didn't notice it. So I doubt Hirschbeck is looking to see if it says the same thing on the front of his jersey.
But would that be the ultimate in being a stickler for detail? You can't bat, Zach Greinke.
I think the only way Hirschbeck would have noticed it if it on the front it said the umpire stinks.
Yeah, if he'd come out with a red jersey that said "I hate John Hirschbeck," that would have been noticed. But
yeah, a T-shirt that said "I'm with stupid" and the arrow was pointing towards the umpire. He might have had taken issue with that.
Late swing by Correa, down he goes. I know you had that T-shirt about 20 years ago, didn't you?
No, never did. I had a lot of friends that had it.
And the arrow was pointed.
Towards me.
All right. Here's McCutchen, top of the order. The only run in this game, a Yuniesky Betancourt home run, bottom of the second inning. And Mitch, if indeed the Pirates are unable to steer out of this skid, and it's looking more and more like they're just going to have to be okay with not being in first place. At the very least, you look at a guy like McCutchen, and if you're a Pirates fan, you feel great about your future.
You do, but you want that future to be sooner than later, because you get Andrew McCutchen to a free agent year.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough to keep great players on a team that has no chance of winning, because every player wants the opportunity to get to a World Series.
Well, and to that wonderful fan base, it's tough to preach patience when the fan base has seen 18 straight losing seasons. It's a losing ball game so far today, but they're right in it. It's 1-0. Well, the Pirates, who have such a tough time winning here in Milwaukee, have not had a lot of opportunities today. They've only got one hit. Brewers on top by 1-0. Fielder takes a strike at the knees.
You know, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at a quote from the Cincinnati Enquirer on Prince Fielder in what he had to say to Joey Votto on Votto being frustrated that he wasn't hitting home runs. And I found this very poignant. Fielder told Votto, don't worry about it. Homers aren't hit. Homers are thrown to you. And Votto said that changed the way I thought about hitting. It was like I let it go. I think that's one of the coolest quotes I've ever heard.
Kind of takes the pressure off, huh?
It does. I mean, Prince is a guy that goes up there and he swings hard every time he swings.
In the air, center field, McCutchen closing, and he's got it. Well, Prince Fielder, if these are mistakes that he's hitting, well, okay. But all I know is here at home especially, he has just been ridiculous in 2011.
Look at that. 344 average, 17 bombs, 54 RBIs.
That's why he was smiling.
Well, I can tell you this. If that's true that homers aren't hit, they're thrown to you, they've thrown him a bunch.
Casey McGee, the hitter. A little bit off the plate is called by John Hirschbeck.
And I think Correa is figuring out, he's seeing where Hirschbeck's setting up, and he's going to that outer third because it's almost a blind spot for Hirschbeck.
Dunked into right field. That's a base hit for McGee. Running not quite as fast as what we had going in between innings. You look at LaTroy Hawkins in the bullpen. Not Yuniesky Betancourt, but LaTroy Hawkins. All right, the shortest of the cured meats. Italian, number 3. Watch 3. He is the sausage of choice here, Mitch.
Well, I have to root for him because I have an Italian wife. And he smokes the rest of the field in this sausage race.
I like what you did there. That was good. Now, see, that's you don't have to be a showboating sausage,
see,
do you?
I'm old school. I'm wishing for him to trip and fall backwards right there.
That was Deshaun Jackson in the costume, we believe. Shameless plug for NFL football on Fox Thursday and Friday this week.
Okay, we got McGee at first. We got one out. Correa is looking to get something hit hard on the ground at somebody.
From a guy who loves to swing. We've talked about that with Betancourt. And not even Betancourt is going to offer it that one. Well, Hairston on deck. As
I said, the pitch has got to start on the plate at some point, and that slider was nowhere near the plate at any point during the delivery.
Betancourt has tattooed a couple of baseballs today. One out of the park, the other one run down beautifully and left center by McCutchen. And again, Correa trying to entice him.
And I think that Correa's thinking back to those last 2 at-bats because he has not had any part of the plate in this at-bat to Betancourt.
Correa's only lost twice on the road. One of those was here in Milwaukee. So he's got a shot if things don't turn around to only have 3 losses all year on the road, and 2 of them would be here. Well, Betancourt's a tough guy to walk, but I think you're right, Mitch, because of what's happened the first couple of at-bats, he's just pitching him very, very carefully.
Yeah, the first 2 at-bats definitely dictated how this at-bat is going.
Only a dozen walks all year for Betancourt. There's Resop up in the bullpen now for the Buccos. A 4-pitch walk of all things to Betancourt. Hairston comes up next, and he is mic'd for your pleasure today. Fox Sounds of the Game.
Wow. I can't believe he got there.
No. He's so fast.
Him and Adam Jones, I think, best right now.
Yeah, Andrew McCutchen made that catch. And Hairston was talking about it.
Well, and it's something to talk about. It really is. When your peers are looking at what you're doing and they're amazed by it, you're a pretty special player.
Meantime, Ray Searage, a former Milwaukee Brewer, now the pitching coach for these Pirates, goes on out there. Ray wore number 41 here in Milwaukee, and the guy that currently wears that number was just fantastic today. Marco Estrada going those 5 innings for the Brewers. And it's not that Correa's been bad at all.
No.
He has scattered 7 hits.
He's pitched well. I mean, he has given up the 7 hits, but when he's gotten guys on base, pitching's about making pitches when you have to make them. And so far in this game, he has, with the exception of the 0-2 mistake to Betancourt. He's done a tremendous job. Now he's got to find a way to get out of this.
A strike to Hairston, who's still getting settled in these new surroundings. Got dealt over from Washington July 30th. Jerry says he moved into his condo yesterday, so now he feels like he's actually a resident of Milwaukee.
Well, and it's a great feeling when you get traded from a team that's down in the standings in the division to a team that's leading. It changes your whole outlook on coming to the ballpark every day. And you look at this last pitch here. This is just a little cut fastball. I believe it's a cut fastball. May have been a changeup. Whatever it was a good one. Again in an 0-2 count. This is he definitely cannot make the mistake here. Not with guys on. He's got to take the chance and make pitches in this spot right here.
In on the hands. Sounded like a busted bat. They get the 1 out at second, and Betancourt with a hard slide. A fielder's choice, 2 down now, and time for a DirecTV game break. The Yankees are playing today, taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. And before the game, honoring Derek Jeter. Boy, that looks pretty nice right there. Jorge Posada drives in a couple, and it's 3-0 New York at last check. They're in the bottom of the 5th. Get every Major League Baseball game and the most in HD. Call 1-800-DIRECTV.
And to tell you just how much Derek Jeter means to his teammates, that statue with the 3,000 hits, that was given to him by his teammates. And when you look back at the rich history of the Yankees, and to think that no one else has done that in a Yankee uniform.
Lucroy lifting it to shallow left. Well, a nice day for Jeter. Yankees on top over there. Brewers on top over here. We're back after a word from your local Fox station. Josh Lewin, Mitch Williams, our entire Fox crew happy to be in Milwaukee today with LaTroy Hawkins taking over on the mound. Marco Estrada went 5 innings, allowed just 1 hit. Then Takashi Saito pitched the 6th. They're going to ask LaTroy Hawkins here to pitch the 7th.
And LaTroy has bounced back and had a very good year this year. With him and adding Frankie Rodriguez and John Axford, the back end of their bullpen is set up outstanding to get them through the rest of the season and on into the playoffs.
And you get the sense that just making the playoffs may not be enough to satisfy this fan base as Diaz grounds to second. The Brewers haven't won a playoff series and advanced to anything since the World Series of '82. Hey, Mitch, in 3 weeks, college football coming to FX. Gus Johnson, Charles Davis bringing you all the action. It starts in Norman, Oklahoma. The top-rated Sooners host the upset-minded in-state rival Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. The FX Saturday College Football Game of the Week presented by Russell Athletic. And there are Charles Davis's preseason power rankings. He likes Oklahoma #1.
Well, I'm guessing Tulsa ain't got much of a chance in that game.
Well, they're a plucky upstart. That's how we're selling that. And LSU's got a tough one with Oregon straight up. Here's Garrett Jones. He's been a hot hitter for the Pirates of late.
My Oregon Ducks. I grew up in Oregon, and they never really had any good football programs or baseball programs. But then Oregon State won the national championship in baseball. Oregon's now been a ranked football team for a number of years, so things are taking off in Oregon. Okay, we got an 0-2 count right here again. Now LaTroy Hawkins, now he has a fastball that he can definitely elevate, as we see right there.
Yeah, so a little too elevated.
But you see my point there, Josh. They can recognize away. They can recognize in. If he throws that ball middle of the plate up, Walker's going to have to honor it. Only this is not Walker hitting, Mitch.
I was wondering if you were going to figure that one out, but yeah, it's well. They got two hot hitters. This is one.
Garrett Jones. Sorry, Garrett, my fault.
Well, Walker will bat this inning. There's only one out.
I was looking at him on deck,
which he appreciates. Boy, the Brewers top to bottom today are making good 2-strike pitches. Estrada, Saito, now Hawkins. And now here's your guy, Neil Walker.
Yeah. And again, that ball's just up high enough to where they can't barrel that ball up. If it was out away from him, he could have barreled it and driven it the other way.
Oh, you're proudly from Oregon.
You watch his pitch right here, Josh. You see this ball gets in on him, gets in just in on the label to where he can't get the barrel to it.
Yeah, nothing you can do with that.
No, that's a tremendous job of pitching right there.
So we get from the Oregon native Mr. Williams to the Pittsburgh native Neil Walker. The curve for a strike. And of all the guys on this team, you figure the one that really wants to make his mark as being part of that group that turns it around. And Clint Hurdle's talked about that. Some group of men will be able to say, we were the first winning team since '92 in Pittsburgh. Walker wants that. He used to go to those games in '92 as a kid.
Well, absolutely. I mean, he's a hometown boy. You look at guys. I grew up just outside of Portland, Oregon, and we had a AAA team there in Portland, the Portland Beavers, so I didn't really aspire to become a AAA player. But Neil Walker, Joe Mauer, these guys that grow up in their home cities and end up playing for their hometown teams, they obviously want to succeed and want to help that team succeed.
Now one's outside, 2-1. Well, and the thing is, their GM, Neil Huntington, inherited a bit of a condemned apartment building when he took over as GM in '07. Bad major league roster, bad farm system, small market. It takes a while to turn a battleship around, as they say. It doesn't just happen with a snap of the fingers.
Well, absolutely. And in order for them to win, they have to have guys with the talent they have they have to get every single bit out of that talent. You can't expect to win when you're playing against teams in the league that have a $200 million payroll, and your payroll is 1/4 of that. You can't expect to win unless you just get performances out of guys that are way above what they should be doing.
But Troy Hawkins deals one into Walker. The frustrations continue to mount for the Pirates. By DirecTV. Now get DirecTV's best offer of the year. And by Travelers. Insurance for auto, home, and business. Rain outside, so we stay covered up inside. They're just saying roll out the barrel, part of the 7th inning stretch. They know all the lyrics here, too, even the little-known Zing Boom Terrell.
And if there wasn't a roof here, they'd be rolling out the tarp.
Lopez to pinch hit here. Felipe Lopez as the bottom of the 7th gets going. Then Kevin Correa, as we said earlier, a guy who has pitched very, very well on the road all year. He's pitched certainly very well today. The only run he's allowed. Yuniesky Betancourt hit an 0-2 pitch over the wall in left. And K-Rod is ready when we get to the 8th inning. He had a bit of an adventure yesterday. That ball pegged, it's foul. How about the first career big league hit yesterday for Francisco Rodriguez? And he cramped up running the bases.
And I don't understand that. As closers, all we do for running is sprints. So either K-Rod doesn't run a lot or he rides a bike. I made sure my first big league hit, I got to jog. I went ahead and hit it in the bleachers.
Yeah, you went long ball. He didn't quite exactly do that. We'll show you the hit. Busting it. I think surprising Garrett Jones. And look, that's a happy bullpen. But that's a cramped up K-Rod.
Yeah. And you look at this game and the way it's setting up. Ron Renicky, when he went home last night, He drew it up. He said, man, if I can get 5 innings out of Estrada, then I can get an inning out of Saito, an inning out of Hawkins, an inning out of K-Rod, and get it to my closer, Axford. And right now, that's how it's setting up.
He could probably use more than just 1 run, though.
I don't think he cares. He could definitely use them. I mean, there's never a penalty for scoring more runs. But the bullpen they've got put together here in Milwaukee is as good as any bullpen there is.
One and two to the veteran Lopez, up and outside. It's been Correa all the way for the Pittsburgh Pirates here. That's a much better line than what he's fashioned the last couple of outings, Mitch. The last 2 starts before this one, 7 innings combined, 12 runs.
Yeah, and right now he's got Lopez, a pinch hitter. Pinch hitters are always going up there looking fastball. So if he can throw him something off speed, which he tried to do right there, and he's running away from it. And what I mean by that is front side, he's leaking down the mound with his lower half. And that, to me, that clicker that pitching coaches use, that to me is needless. This is when you know when a pitcher's starting to get tired and get into himself. When he starts drifting down the mound, that's telling you he's starting to lose his legs.
And a long at bat continues. Gonna have a 9th pitch coming. Well, still, he's only had 83 pitches for the afternoon.
If he can get a changeup in the middle of the plate down right here, he's out. But it's got to be middle to where the hitter thinks it's a fastball.
Boy, and they're really having a tough time agreeing on what to do.
And I think Domet probably does want to change speeds here and go to something off speed. And Correa has not been able to get it over, so he's not feeling confident in it.
Down the middle of the plate, and a ground ball to second base taken care of. Next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, the Cardinals trying to gain ground against the Brewers. They'll take on the Cubs. That showdown between those great rivals. Also the Pirates and the Reds, or the Brewers and the Mets. Next week's telecast of Fox Saturday Baseball presented by Gillette Fusion Pro Glide. It starts at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. Check local listings for the game and start time in your area. Now, the Pirates were in first place on July 26th. Here it is August 13th. They're 11 out, in danger of going to 12. Hart swings and fouls it.
And this is what you call a free fall. And the only way to stop a free fall is go out there and take it day by day, pitch by pitch. It sounds so cliche, but it's so true.
Now, Steve Perry is not exactly showing up to sing "Don't Stop Believing" right now. It looks very bleak because of this free fall. But you got, as you said, Mitch, the most positive guy maybe in the majors in that dugout, in Clint Hurdle, and he's not going to let him quit.
No, he won't let him quit. And the important thing is, the players have to believe it. Clint can be as positive as he wants, but the game still comes down to execution. And what I've seen today, a lot of the hitters have gotten themselves out. Estrada did a very good job. But if we went back over the tape of this game and looked at the number of pitches that were middle of the plate in hitters' counts that they got themselves out on, there'd be a bunch of them.
Hart, a very unconventional looking leadoff man. He is 6'6" and weighs 235.
He's a big old boy.
3 balls and a strike to count.
And you got to try and go in. I still believe pitchers have to pitch in order to have any success at the big league level. But you're not going to get the strike called in there because of where John Hirschbeck, the home plate umpire, is set up. He is set up on the inside corner of the plate.
That one running up and in. And time now for a direct TV game break to take you back to the Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays. What a day for Jorge Posada. Already had driven in 2, and now this is a salami off Brandon Gomes. The Yankees go on top eventually 7-1. That game still going at Yankee Stadium. It's in the 6th inning. Get every Major League Baseball game and the most in HD. Call 1-800-DIRECTV. So on the day that they're saluting at Derek Jeter, one of his real good buddies, Jorge Posada, steals the show.
Jorge's got 6 in the basket, as we say, and he may want to give Jeter another statue tomorrow.
Yeah, so far every time he presents a statue, a 6 RBI game. Ray Searage out to talk to Kevin Correa. And I agree with you, Mitch. Body language, if it tells you something, this looks like a guy who's kind of got some tired legs right now.
He looks spent, and that's my point with the pitch count.
And here's the point we referenced earlier about how Milwaukee just owns the Pirates here. And you know what? Last year, you go to Pittsburgh and you realize that even over there was a 20-0 game, Milwaukee over Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
They outscored them 53-4 at one point over 4 games. That was at their place.
That's a pounding. Yeah, and I'm a big believer that you, as a pitching coach in this league at the big league level, you should not need a clicker to tell you when a pitcher's done. Number one, I've always been a big believer that the opposing offense will be the first ones to let you know when you're done.
Well, the Brewers have had him just kind of swinging on the vine here for a while. They haven't been able to finish him off. They have not been hitting with men on base. They're still not doing it. Nyjer Morgan, there's 1 out, and that's it. They're now 1 for 14 batting with runners on base today.
And this is a part of a pitcher that impresses me. Pitching with bases empty is one thing. The pitchers that impress me are the guys that can make pitches when there's guys in scoring position, when there's an error made, and they get out of that inning. And we look here, Hurdle's going to make a move.
Yeah, he's got restop ready. It was an exhausting at bat last time with Braun, even though he struck him out on that high pitch on 3-2. Quinn Hurdle's going to come out there and make that change. Correa allowed a runner every inning, but it's still just a 1-0 game here on Fox. He's not in position to win. Milwaukee's up 1-0. They're trying to make sure it stays close enough where they can rally. Chris Resop gets into a game for the 58th time this year.
Well, he's a guy that Clint Hurdle relies on, and he needs to make some good pitches here to a very good hitter and keep this game where it's at. If he can keep it 1-0, they're one swing of the bat from tying it. And that's what Clint's looking at right now. He does not want this lead to increase. So rather than stay with Correa, who is, I mean, he's thrown well, but had some rough innings and gotten out of them, he's going with a fresh Resop.
Nyjer Morgan, the base runner. And they'll pay some attention to him. It was late in the game yesterday where the Brewers pulled away from the Pirates, and it was Braun and Fielder really igniting that with back-to-back home runs.
And in this situation, it would not surprise me at all to see Morgan try and steal, because if he does steal and get thrown out, you got Braun leading off the next inning. So it would make sense for him to try and get into scoring position here.
Strategically, I guess it really is oftentimes risk-reward, right, Mitch? I mean, it's not just, is that guy at first base fast?
No, absolutely. You have to look at the situation and does it make sense for me to try and steal? The last time he had first and third with Braun up and Fielder on deck, you don't want to take that chance. But right now, if he steals and gets in position to score, then a single can score. And Resop is not overly quick to the plate.
Tagged in left field, base hit, Braun, and Prince Fielder's coming up. Or is he? Nyjer Morgan is going to be safe at third. Boy, and that was pretty daring.
I can tell you this, if he'd have been thrown out right there, Ron Renicky would have been calling him into the principal's office again.
Keeping in mind, as Braun sizzles it out there, Ryan Ludwig leads the National League in outfield assists. He's got 10 of them. Looked like this was going to be number 11. It was close.
Yeah. And you talk about risk-reward.
Great look at it there.
He's safe. A great call by the umpire. But as far as baseball Spalding Guidebook 101 goes, you don't try and take that base. You don't make the third out at third base with Prince Fielder standing on deck.
And now Prince Fielder's at the plate against a righty. It's not like they had a righty and a lefty ready in the bullpen. It was Resop, period.
Well, and Resop right now, he is got. This is a situation, I said one of the keys at the beginning for Correa was to not let Fielder hurt you. And McGee has been better of late, but I'm not giving Fielder anything to hit in this situation. I'm going to take my chances with Casey McGee standing on deck.
Big swing. It is 0-2.
And Resop's got to consider himself right now lucky to be in the situation he's in. He's 0-2. Now he cannot give Fielder anything to hit the remainder of this at bat. He has got to take a chance on him swinging at a ball in the dirt, a ball up and out of the zone, but he cannot throw another strike in this at bat.
Runner going from first, and Ryan Braun is going to steal it easily. Off speed in the dirt. Fielder didn't swing. Now do you? Well, it's still 1-2, so you can go after Fielder, right?
Now, this to me is absolutely the unintentional intentional walk. This is where you take your chances. Go out. If I'm the pitching coach, I'm going out and I'm telling Chris Resop, look, I don't care what happens, do not throw him another strike in this at bat. See if you can get him to chase, but do not get in the strike zone.
Well, the Brewers have had every chance to pull away in this game. Haven't really been able to do it yet. If they get the big hit from Prince Fielder, you figure it's Cam Lowe that comes on. If it stays 1-0, right, it would be K-Rod.
Right.
At home this year, Braun and Fielder, and we mentioned they went back-to-back late in the game yesterday.
I mean, those numbers are ridiculous. For a three, you can look all over baseball. You're not going to find a more potent 3-4 combination than Braun and Fielder.
Well, kind of what you're alluding to. If Prince Fielder wants to offer it something, just can't help himself and get himself out, that's fine. But it doesn't look like they're going to give him anything to hit.
Well, this is a chance, again, to elevate a fastball. And I'm talking about chin high in. They're going to finish. They're going to put him on.
Yeah, it started at 1-2 when it all kind of slowed down, and then the one pitcher makes it 2-2. They're saying the heck with it. Let's just put him on and see if we can go get Casey McGee.
And that goes back to the stolen base. Is it smart for Braun to run right there, knowing that it's probably going to take the bat out of Prince Fielder's hands? Well, with Casey McGee being hot lately, maybe it is smart.
Fielder leads the National League in intentional walks. Here is Casey McGee with the bases loaded.
And this is a situation that manager Ron Renicky said Casey McGee kind of pressured up in early in the year because they were walking Fielder intentionally to get to him, and he wasn't producing. And the more you get put in this situation and they intentionally walk Prince to get to you, the more you pressure up and don't get the job done, the worse you feel and the worse it gets.
Swinging. It's 0-1.
He did not get cheated on that swing. This is not looking to dump a single into right here, people.
Last career slam for McGee was against these Pirates. It was last April. It's 0-2.
Okay, now this goes back to that walking the ladder situation we talked about. Okay, he went high fastball, kind of medium high fastball first pitch. Now he went a little higher.
Can he go even higher than that?
Now, absolutely. This is where you test the boundaries of how high will he go.
Well, he'll have to be at like his neck if that's the case here.
It's got to be neck high, but it's got to be in the middle of the plate. If he can throw a fastball middle of the plate, neck high, Casey McGee's going after it.
Down the middle of the plate, taken for strike 3.
And that right there is Casey McGee getting caught in the fact that he didn't think he was going to get a strike thrown to him.
Boy, he got a strike. In fact, he got 3 of them. And the Brewers have left him loaded. Rodriguez steps in. Ryan Ludwig showing bunt. We had the third baseman playing way back. And Casey McGee came racing in after the bunt was shown. Here are the numbers for K-Rod this year coming over from New York.
And when you're able to go out and acquire a quality closer to come in and be a setup guy, it's a pretty good move for your organization. I've always said the 8th inning is harder to throw than the 9th because hitters in the 8th inning have a net, meaning they've got the hitters in the 9th that are coming up after them, and it's tougher on the pitcher. You got to throw more strikes.
The Brewers love what they have out there in the 9th inning. And that was kind of weird when K-Rod came over here. There was obviously that question because he's been a closer for forever. How would he take to being the 8th inning guy? He's taken to it just fine.
And as I said, anytime you have the opportunity to be a part of a team that's going to postseason.
That one solidly in the center. It's just the second hit of the game for the Pirates. Hold that thought. Before that right there, Mr. Williams, the only other hit, today's mini moment, brought to you by Burger King and the all-new BK Burger and Chicken Minis. Looked harmless enough, right, Ronnie Cedeno? But after that, it had been 14 straight set down by 3 different Milwaukee pitchers.
And it was on an 0-2 pitch.
Josh Harrison is going to pinch run. Just came up today. Remember, they had to put Derek Lee on the DL.
Right. And in this situation, I mean, the baseball rule book or etiquette book says you don't play for the tie on the road. So I wouldn't be looking for a sacrifice bunt here from Domet.
Well, Domet is a guy, and we talked about this earlier. He's one of the few Pirates that has had big hits in this ballpark ever. We keep showing you that stat about how the Pirates have lost 34 of 37 here. And 2 of the 3 wins, Ryan Domet hit a home run off Trevor Hoffman to either tie the game or break it open. That's another closer with some credentials, just like Francisco Rodriguez.
And as you look at this, I mean, it's a 1-0 game, but the Brewers have had opportunities the entire game to push more runs across the plate, and they have not done it.
You look at the runners left on base.
And then the decision made by Clint Hurdle last inning to intentionally walk Prince to get to McGee ended up being a pretty good decision.
Well, that is still a sinister pitch after all these years for K-Rod, isn't it?
That changeup. And that's the thing. There's so much motion and so much moving and going on with K-Rod's delivery that changeup comes out of there. It looks like he's trying to throw it 100, and it just does not get there.
Broke in with that great cutter, too, 9-10 years ago. Disposing of Domet.
And there's the changeup again. That's an even better one. You see that? This is an 80-mile-an-hour changeup just going down and away from Domet. And right there, they're swinging at arm speed. The best changeups there are in the game. When you look at K-Rod, you look at Johan Santana, Ryan Madsen. These guys, their changeups are that good because hitters are swinging at arm speed, and those pitchers have the ability to deliver that pitch with the same arm speed that they use with their fastball, and they trust the grip to take the velocity off the ball.
Hammers that one in there to Alvarez, strike 1. Remember that World Series debut for Francisco Rodriguez? It was remarkable, coming into, I think, a 9-8 game in the 5th inning. And he retired all 9 batters he faced for the Angels. He threw 26 pitches, 22 strikes.
Well, when he first came up, he was electric. He had great stuff.
But to do that at that age, in that environment, I just thought was remarkable, Mitch. It was like Phil Simms' Super Bowl performance, completing, 22 out of 25 passes? Just bang, 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 one strike after another.
And I made a mistake. The first pitch to Dolman last at bat, that was his fastball. K-Rod's fastball is now 86 to 87. And his changeup, the last one, was 79.
Alvarez lays off that one.
And there's another changeup at 81 miles an hour. And K-Rod also has a very good curveball. In this situation, would not surprise me a bit to see him try and backdoor this on Alvarez and get a punch out without a swing with his curveball. Setting up away.
Got him to pop it up. Another 81 mile an hour change. Ronnie Cedeno will try to save the inning for the Pirates. Now keep in mind, Milwaukee is 57-1 when leading after 8. You don't want to have to get to that 9th inning needing to score off the closer.
I don't know if those numbers, that sounds really good to me. 57-1.
Yep.
Yeah, I think those are good.
And you didn't go to college. See what you did right there?
I'm doing my gazintas, and 1 out of 58 is not good for the other team. And now we have the guy at the plate that has one of the 2 hits, Ronnie Cedeno.
Xavier Paul has moved on deck. I'm still looking for the Gazinta button on my BlackBerry here.
Gazinta?
Yeah.
That means, like, how many times is 8 Gazinta 64? I can't believe you don't know that, being down in Texas as long as you've been.
Yeah, we don't do much with Gazintas.
Well, that might be a little further south.
I have a line. I'm not going to use it. 1 strike to count to Cedeno. Now the Pirates, again, just 3 weeks ago, Mitch, in first place. Not just sniffing around and in the hunt. They were legitimately in first place. And they gotta know that if they can't rally here, they're going to be a dozen games back now.
And it shows you how quick and how fast this game can humble you and remind you that you never have it figured out.
Runner goes, and that ball slapped out of play. And I know you guys on MLB Network all across the baseball landscape, there are a lot of feel-good stories this year. The Indians as a team, Ryan Vogelsong as an individual out there in San Francisco. But head of the class were these Pittsburgh Pirates, and I think nationally it was, when a Cinderella story starts taking shape, you're in on that. And then all of a sudden when Cinderella just kind of wipes out into a big mud puddle.
Yeah, I mean, and all of us, I mean, if you're a baseball fan in general, you root for teams that haven't won.
Harrison going, but it doesn't matter. K-Rod is out of the inning with a K. It stays 1-0 Milwaukee. Unieski Betancourt making it a 1-0 game on an 0-2 pitch back in the second inning. And that's all the scoring we have so far.
Yeah, and that's a pitch I guarantee you Kevin Pereira wishes he had back. If he had it back, he'd be sitting in a tie game right now. Just as Unieski Betancourt gives the Brewers the edge, you too can keep your edge with Just for Men, Mustache and Beard. Daniel McCutchen takes over on the mound, and Xavier Paul will come into the game to play left. A double switch for the Pirates, who trail 1-0, bottom 8. And it is Betancourt to lead off. Milwaukee trying to make it 15 wins in its last 17 games. Hottest team going right now in the major leagues. And confidence is a wonderful thing in this game. And right now the Brewers are about as confident as a team as I've seen. Well, and, you know, we've talked on and on today about how the Pirates have that incredibly bad record here in Milwaukee. That's got to work the other way, too, right? I mean, here's a Milwaukee team knowing they've got this closer. Knowing they've got X-Man warming up. You've got to like that guy. Oh, yeah. That's the Unieski Betancourt a lot of people know. Swing at that first one. First out, bottom 8. Today's game presented by Gillette. It's sponsored by One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of Major League Baseball, and by MasterCard, asking you to eat, drink, and be generous this summer. Now, the closer we're talking about, John Axford, charged with replacing baseball's all-time saves leader last year when Trevor Hoffman faltered. Axford never missed a beat. Now, he's a fan favorite because of that rags to riches story that I'm sure you've heard, the ever-changing facial hair. But Mitch, as you well know, all the wacky shenanigans don't mean squat if you can't get anyone out. No, I mean, you can do all the goofy stuff you want. The thing I like about him, he's a lot like me. He ain't no oil painting out there. Well, I'll put it to you this way. If Brian Wilson's ERA was 7.3, he would not have been at the ESPYs. No, and that beard would just be an ugly beard. That one bouncing in on Doman. No, it all has to do with performance and what you do and how you do it. And Brian Wilson happens to be one of my favorite players in the game. I think he's great for the game. Well, and he backs it up. I mean, you know. Right. And what I love about him, he'll take the ball. I want the guys in that bullpen that don't go to the manager and after throwing 3 days in a row and say, I need a day off. I always figured if I could pull my pants on, I could pitch. Hairston lines one foul. And that's a hanging breaking ball right there, and Hairston's out in front of it. It's just a loud strike. We had him on the sounds of the game that we caught earlier, talking about trying to find that balance about starting too early, starting too late. We've seen one of each now today. Yeah. Now McCutchen's well ahead in the count here, 1-2. Hairston sending that one down the line, foul. And that right there, for people at home, that's called emergency hack. Because he got 2 strikes, right? Yeah, I mean, he's trying to protect, and the hardest pitch to take an emergency hack on is a fastball. Because you're guarding against a breaking ball, you want to stay back, you want to fight it off. A fastball in is the hardest pitch there is to take an emergency hack on. Well, looking ahead to that 9th inning, the Pirates will have 9-1-2 in the order coming up, and trying to set it up for Garrett Jones and Neil Walker. They'll have to deal with John Axford, who is 33 out of 35 saving games this year. Well, that's pretty good. Pops him up this time. Xavier Paul, who grew up a Pirates fan in New Orleans, of all things. His dad was a big-time Pirates fan. Roberto Clemente had been his guy. Now here's Jonathan Lucroy coming to the plate for Milwaukee.
That's a great closer the Pirates have. Just hasn't had a lot of things to close lately, Mr. Hanrahan.
Yeah, and I can speak to the fact that it's frustrating when you're a closer and you go through these streaks as a team where you don't get the opportunity to go out there and do your job.
The Hanrahan is putting up near historic numbers this year, but.
And speaking to Clint Hurdle about him before the game, and Clint's really impressed with how he's taken the job as a closer and run with it. And he's still learning how to close. Well, I think the learning curve is over. I think he knows how to close.
We saw Mark Kotze on deck. In the spot where Estrada had started today. Again, Estrada went 5 innings. The Brewers getting a real nice performance from a guy who had not started since early May. Down the line and left, it's foul. Tell you what, pitching wise, maybe not since the days of Vukovich and Haas and Caldwell and McClure. They had a pitching rotation like they have right now, Mitch. And that doesn't include Marco Estrada in it. We're talking about the Zach Greinke, Gallardo, Markham
Sean
thing.
Markham. And that for me in the winter, that is what put me over the edge. There was two things involved in my decision on who I thought would win the Central. The first being when Adam Wainwright went out for the year for the Cardinals. And then the addition of Markham and Greinke to this pitching staff, for me, made the Brewers the Central favorite hands down.
Well, the fans here are with you. There was a run on season tickets as soon as the Greinke thing happened.
And there's a look at Zach Greinke, who last night twirled up a gem here. And Ron Renicky said last night was the first time all year that he saw the Zach Greinke throw like the Cy Young Award winner from 2 years ago, where he turned it loose. His velocity was great. He located great. And I just don't. I felt the same way about him. I just didn't think that we had seen the guy that had go to the mound and just turn it loose.
He's not lost here at home yet. I think Gallardo has held up his end of the deal. Markham, same story.
And Gallardo started slow. I mean, he had a slow start to the season, then and turned it completely around. Sean Markham's been exactly what they thought he was going to be. And Zach Greinke, his ERA is elevated, but when you look at his 1-loss total, you have to be impressed. I believe he's won 11 and lost 4. With an 8-0 record here at home. So the fans here in Milwaukee got to love him. And I think when you look at it, there had to be the right situation for Greinke to go to. I mean, with the well-documented social anxiety issues that he deals with, I think a town like Milwaukee where, I mean, let's be honest, they're friendly Midwestern people. It's a great place for them to go.
It is. They're friendly people, but the Pirates, they don't like it here. They just can't seem to win here. Now they've got to beat that guy, John Axford. The ninth inning in Milwaukee. It's a two-hitter right now. John Axford comes in. And John Axford has lost only twice, has blown only 2 saves this year. The bullpen really did a great job. If you're wondering, and I'm sure you were, when's the last time there was a 2-hit shutout by all righties? Well, it was about 10 years ago.
That's a long time for a 2-hit shutout by all right-handed pitchers.
Pretty random, but pretty cool, although it's not in the books quite yet. The Pirates have a shot here with Xavier Paul. Third baseman McGee in on the grass, guarding against the bunt, but it's strike one.
That right there is just overpowering a hitter. You know Xavier Paul's up there looking first pitch fastball, and Axford just flat out overpowered him with the first one. Axford's a fastball, big 12-6 breaking ball guy. That one went from 12 to about 8:30.
Xavier Paul's first at bat of the game came on as part of a double switch last inning. Only once all year have the Brewers failed to win a game when they've led after 8. There's that bunt that had been threatened, but he didn't get to actually make any contact.
And you look at that'll pucker him up a little bit. That's not fun. When you go to square around a bunt and that ball comes in on you like that, he barely got the bat pulled back in time on that one.
Swinging now, it's 2-2.
And you can see how late Xavier Paul is on that fastball. And now Axford's got options. Again, he can go up with his fastball a notch higher than the last one he just threw, or he can go to that big curveball. If he goes to the big curveball, I don't think there's any way in the world Xavier Paul is going to be on it.
Dumps it down in the dirt. Well, McCutchen is on deck. And that would make it pretty interesting if Xavier Paul somehow works his way on base, and then you go to McCutchen, and Diaz would be scheduled, then Jones and Walker.
Well, I know right now Xavier Paul's sitting fastball. Axford's thrown 2 breaking balls. Neither one of them have been close. If he can get a breaking ball in the area right here, he's going to get him out because he's not looking for it.
He stays with the fastball there, fouls it back. Well, from a macro perspective, Clint Hurdle's team needs a miracle or 2 or 3. Get back in this race in the NL Central.
Well, and it all starts basically right here. One hitter, one pitch at a time.
In the air. Right center field. Nyjer Morgan is back to the track. He can't get it. He'll race to recover. Xavier Paul hightailing it to third. He is standing there. The tying man at third base and nobody out. What a great at bat by Xavier Paul. He's the first Pirate to get to third base all day.
And Nyjer Morgan's route right here, he misplays his ball a little bit. That ball's over his left shoulder and he's looking over his right.
McCutchen about to bat, and you spoke about McCutchen and the route he took earlier to rob one of the hitters today, and that was the opposite.
Yeah. And this right here, this is where having a closer that can overpower hitters is an absolute must. You have to have the ability to strike guys out here.
Infield in, not quite to the grass. And with the infield in, one pitch, there's an out. After the triple by the Left fielder Xavier Paul, the center fielder, grounds to short. McCutchen is out, Diaz is up, and are you looking for anything weird here?
You know, it goes against everything. Like I said, you don't play for a tie on the road, but it would not surprise me at all to see Clint Hurdle squeeze in this situation.
The Brewers are now up right to the grass with the infield. And look at this. 2 pitches, 2 ground outs with the infield in.
And this basically is a microcosm of what has happened over the last 3 weeks for Pittsburgh.
Boy, they put it on a platter. Xavier Paul fights and fights, gets to third base. You got the top of the order coming up. 1 pitch, McCutchen out. 1 pitch, Diaz out. And now it's up to Garrett Jones. He is 1 for 4 lifetime against Axford.
And I hope you didn't let that word I use, microcosm, go unnoticed. That I do have the ability every now and then, Josh, to drop a big word.
Good job, Professor. That pitch dropping, not quite dropping, more like darting in there at 96.
And that's the one thing right here Axford does not want. He does not want Garrett Jones to be able to get extended. And that's that curveball I was talking about. When you're guarding against a 96-mile-an-hour fastball and they throw that curveball, you can look foolish. I mean, he swings before this ball's even 5 feet in front of the plate. That's what 96, 97-mile-an-hour fastball does for you.
Now it's 1-2.
Now, as foolish as he's made Garrett Jones look on these last 2 pitches with this curveball, if I'm John Axford, I am elevating a fastball right here. No matter what, I am throwing a high fastball and making him prove he can hit it.
It was a high heat.
Yep.
He made contact.
Now Garrett Jones is in trouble.
Well, he's seen the curve, he's seen the high heat. Now he's got to guess which one is next.
Yeah,
right?
Now he's got to figure out, okay, I just fouled off his high fastball. And if I'm Axford, I'm going right back to that breaking ball.
Taken, and wow. Mr. Hirschbeck said it's outside. 2-2.
It's a backdoor curveball. Yeah, it's a little bit off the plate. But the count is still in Axford's favor here.
Peeled into the crowd. The Pirates had a leadoff triple here in a 1-0 game in the 9th. And if Waterloo was located in Wisconsin, that'd be about right. This is theirs. The Pirates cannot win in Milwaukee no matter what. They're 3-34 here going back to 07. And even with this great opportunity to tie, it's come down to a last strike.
Well, the thing here is he's already proven that he can get him to chase a breaking ball. He's got to trust that he can bounce a curveball here and trust that Lucroy will keep the ball in front of him.
Taken, it's 3-2. Give the Pirates some credit here. The at-bats by Paul and this one by Jones are pretty solid.
Yeah, and he's got another good hitter standing on deck in Neil Walker, so he wants the game over with right here. Axford does not want this game extended any further than Garrett Jones.
Taken, and he just barely missed.
I'll tell you what,
8th pitch of the at bat. Here are all of them.
Fastball in, breaking ball, fastball up, breaking ball up, fastball down, breaking ball up, and breaking ball up. The problem is he never did get his breaking ball down again. After the first two he made him look silly on, the last two that he threw were up.
Well, we've talked repeatedly today about how no player takes it as personally as Neil Walker for these Pirates to get this thing turned around. He's a Pittsburgh native. Got a chance to turn this game around here. There's the curve, strike one. A bullet missing in. Now remember, the pitcher's spot is now the number 5 spot in the order with that double switch. So Steve Pearce is on deck.
And he's a right-handed hitter. So if I'm Axford, I am not going to take any chances right here. Neil Walker, he's a good hitter.
And he's 1 out of 2 lifetime against Axford with a couple of walks.
So I'm looking at that right-hander standing on deck, and I'm not caring if I walk Walker.
Towards the crowd, chased. It is in the crowd. And again, the Pirates are down to a last strike.
Walker's last time up, he was frozen by Hawkins with a fastball away in this situation. It'll be interesting to see what Axford, how he goes at him right here.
On 1 and 2. He got him swinging. Got to make this play, though. They do, and that's it.
And that right there is exactly what I was talking about having enough trust in Jonathan Lucroy to keep that ball in front of him to where that runner from third can't score. It's a great job by Lucroy to keep that ball in front.
Well, Cinderella still has mud all over her dress. The Pirates, such a great story this year, and they had it for the taking here in the 9th with a leadoff triple. Another bad day for Cinderella. We will wrap things up for Milwaukee right after these messages from your local Fox station. Again, your final 1-0 Brewers.